Hello, we are live. Welcome to Friday's GTFO. Simon Daly has been told to be on his best behaviour today, so let's see how we get along with this. So, welcome to the Grow Traffic Facebook Live and podcast, where today we are talking about AMP. Don't groan. It's not that boring. It will be okay. So, first of all, introductions. I'm Rachel Weinhold from Grow Traffic. Simon Daly, what's your name and where'd you come from?
My name is Simon Daly and I come from Grow Traffic.
Oh, and what's going on in your world today?
Lots of things are going on in my world. I had an early start. I had a bit of a meeting at 8 a.m. this morning, which is always fun, isn't it? An early meeting.
Yeah,
You
absolutely.
miss the start of it because you can't get up at that time in the morning. Maybe
I
I
think
don't
I
know.
think you'll find I was there. I was just doing other things at the same time, but I was there. Tell me about your personal pronouns, Simon Daly.
Uh, zers. I'm just toying around with the idea of changing my personal pronouns, not because I think it's pretty obvious that I'm a man. If you look at me and I kind of identify as a man, um, but I do think that language is a really important thing, and I've been thinking about this for a while, and I'm thinking, is there any reason for people to describe me as a man? And I don't think there necessarily is. So this is like a feminist statement, I suppose.
Oh, okay, okay. Well, I mean, it's LGBTQ plus month this month, isn't it? So we've been helping to promote that on our socials and things. But we've been using displaying our personal pronouns for quite some time. But yeah, this is the first time you are now Ziza Ziz rather than he, her, him, aren't you? So there we
Go
go.
on.
Anyway, that's it.
His,
He,
he,
he, him.
him. That was the way I was
Yeah,
before.
yeah. You've never quite got your head around it, have you? But
No, I have. I'm
okay,
winning here. So
you're
so
winning.
I'm
There
I'm
we go.
trying this variant out for now, just seeing how I feel with it, seeing
Have you
how
made this
people
up,
react
or is
to it.
this an actual thing?
No, it's an actual thing.
Oh, okay, okay. Fair enough. Fair enough. Anyway, that's enough about personal pronouns. Let's crack on today. Let's stop talking about things that are interesting and move on to AMP. Dun dun dun. It's just exciting. So first thing, I did ask you, Simon Daly, to give me 5 top tips that we could run through on today's call, and you haven't done that. What you've given me is 5 questions. So really, this is more of an explainer video about what AMP is, why you should care about it, and what you need to do for it, as opposed to the top 5 tips. But we're going to plow on anyway, because that's fine. That's absolutely fine. We're just mixing it up a bit. So first of all, first question for you: what is AMP?
AMP stands for Accelerated Mobile Pages, and it is a framework that Google invented. Um, it runs on its own. It runs on its own AMP HTML, its own AMP JavaScript, and its own CDN content delivery network. It's all based on Google's kind of system, but it is open source. They created it on
Introduced
an
it
open
about
source basis.
2016, 2017, didn't they? That's when it was brought in.
Something like that. Yeah, I can't. It must have been 2016. That feels too late, but maybe it's not. You may be right. Yeah, that's what it is. It's a framework for delivering content, basically in a faster way.
And what's the purpose of it? What's it designed to do?
It's designed to deliver content quickly. So historically, the problem was that the internet was people were getting smartphones and things like that, and people were going on the internet more through their smartphones, but the internet was generally quite slow on mobile phone technology. It was fast on browsers, or faster on browsers, and slow on mobile. So Google invented AMP, Accelerated Mobile Pages, to make the mobile internet faster. And they did that by essentially serving the content through the AMP framework in a much more stripped down version, so you wouldn't see the navigation, or you wouldn't see ads on there. It would just be a bit of content. You most often see it in news results, where you tend to find big newspapers, that they are heavily invested in AMP technology. But theoretically, you can use it for all pages, most pages, put it that way, where the content is pretty static.
I think as well, it might just be worth sort of unpicking that a little bit. You know, it was first pioneered, wasn't it, by those companies who were aware that their readers, their visitors, were mostly accessing the content on mobile devices. So newspapers is a thing that typically people are going to be reading that whilst they're on the bus or the train on the way to work, or having a break in the lunch or something. That's when people are most likely to be accessing sort of news content sites and things. So they did lead the way with that, didn't they? But it did rapidly become apparent that businesses also needed to focus on AMP as much as news sources.
Yeah, I think when Google rolled it out originally, they originally targeted news content, and they encouraged businesses initially to put their blog content onto AMP. So following the same kind of rollout pattern that they'd used previously by going out to those kind of publishers, before they developed like the plugins that enable you to do your whole website in AMP.
And so when people were looking at I can hear feedback of myself, and it's really annoying me. It's like there's a delay in my ear. But when people would see a web page, you would see it on your browser, you would see it on your mobile phone. Probably most people wouldn't notice that there was a difference in that. I mean, I was looking before there was a comparison. I'll share this in the chat, the link. But there was a comparison of the Guardian, what the page would look like if it was being viewed on a laptop, and what the page would look like if it was being viewed on a mobile phone. And it was a stripped out version, as you say. The picture wasn't as crisp, the text wasn't as bold, there weren't as many elements on the page. So as you said, there weren't adverts and things, but fundamentally the content was roughly the same. But as you say, it's about stripping out all of that extraneous stuff, isn't it, that might slow a page down, just to give a mobile user that enhanced experience.
Yeah, I mean, it's about loading that content lightning fast. The AMP HTML, so the code behind the concept, if you like, it's HTML, which most websites, all websites really are built in. However, it's a much more stripped down version of HTML, so it doesn't need to do as much. It just delivers that content.
So there's less code in the back as well as being less stuff on the front, isn't there?
Yeah, and not just that there's less code. There's also less that code can do. So it doesn't need to check through lots of different things before it loads.
I mean, we are going to come on to talk about what web owners need to do if they are thinking about this, but and the final point that we're going to look at is sort of AMP in the future. So I don't really want to cover that now, obviously, but
then I won't.
Okay. Fair enough. In that case, yes, let's move on. So first of all, let's talk about...
Was it, just thinking about it, was it not 2015 when it was introduced? 2016, 17, that's when we went to the mobile index.
Mobile first, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so if a business, a website owner, wants to focus on AMP, what do they need to do?
It should be quite simple for a web owner to do this. They should probably depends on the technology that they're using. But if you use WordPress or other kinds of CMSs, you can tend to find plugins, extensions, add-ons that you can put into into those CMSs in order to share that content through the AMP network. They're relatively straightforward to set up, and that will just share the content.
But like really practically, because I know the purpose of these sessions is that we're talking to sort of ordinary business owners, not necessarily web dev experts or anything. It is the idea that people will need to build essentially two versions of their website. Will they need to have the desktop version and the mobile version, or is in essence they can install the plugin and the plugin will do all the work in the back end so that they don't need to worry about it?
Yeah, I mean, it's the same. You have one version of your website, the AMP plugin, or I suppose it's an API really, does all the work for you. Plugin, extension, add-on, whatever you want to call it. That is what will feed out the page content. There's a bit of setup, but really they've got much. They used to be really clunky and difficult to use, those kind of plugins, and actually it was, and right at the beginning, the reason that it was big publishers and big corporations that that focused on it was because it was difficult to implement. But nowadays it's pretty automated. It pretty much, the plugins and the add-ons, and they all do it for you. This has been going for like 6-7 years.
So, if we're advising business owners on what they need to do with this, is the advice get a plugin, or are there additional things that can be being done to the website? I mean, does this have any relation to the core Web Vitals stuff that we've been talking about for the last year, for example?
Not really. Yes and no is the answer. Because
it depends.
Well, yeah, kind of. Because you've got to think that AMP is a separate thing from your website. It's not your website.
But surely, if we're saying, the goal for any website, and we are always saying this when we're advising people, is you've got to make your website as fast loading, as streamlined, as quick, and as easy for people to use as it possibly can. That end user has got to have a really smooth user experience where, the text isn't moving around and there aren't adverts coming in and videos starting to play and all of that kind of stuff. The whole trend in web design, SEO, CRO, all of that stuff is towards a really streamlined, stripped back, easy to use website, and these two things they do play a part together, don't they?
Yeah, but it's not your website. It's your content, but it's not on your website. It's on Google. So absolutely it's going to help improve some of those user signals. There's some good analytics kind of things that you can use now to work out what's actually going on with those. But ultimately, that content it's not your website that's doing that performance. It's something else. So I don't necessarily think that will have such a positive thing for your website. And also, that's kind of the reason that you don't use them for pages that need to do much heavy lifting. So it's great for news articles. It's great for blog posts that are kind of really high up the funnel. I think I'm racing ahead to what are the problems of AMP now, but yeah. So that's it will help because it's going to make the content. It's going to serve the content faster. However, it's not on your website, and there's a number of other things that you need to think about.
Okay. Well, what are those things then? Because we've said, how do people need to implement it? So it can't just be a case of put a plugin on and off you go. What else are they going to need to do?
Well, it is often just a case of putting a plugin on, and it depends how the plugin works. Some of them are quite, if you've got I don't know, I'm just trying to think. If you're a publisher, then you just put a plugin across the whole website and it's done. Maybe not the homepage, but then the plugins that you get for like WordPress enable you to use things like categories or choose which elements of a page you want to appear in the AMP page, or you can change them at page level to say, yes, I want this to be on the AMP sitemap or whatever it would be, and this I don't want to be part of my AMP site.
So when we're thinking about that, then in terms of the content of your website, you know that yes, they all right. They've put the plugin on. Is it then a case of going through the content on your website and determining what are those pages that are doing the heavy lifting? What are the ones that need to be prioritized as AMP pages?
Yeah,
and how might somebody do that?
Yeah, well, it's buyer journey stuff, isn't it? So if you are creating informative kind of top of the funnel content, yeah, that might be all right to keep it in your kind of AMP section. If you're talking about your product pages, then or your services pages, well, let's say services pages first. If you're talking about your services pages, then you're probably going to want to land people on your website so that you can benefit from all the kind of call to actions, that you can encourage people to go from there to a contact page, you know, because the visual element is stripped out of an AMP page, so you can't entice somebody and, you know, move them along in any other way other than text.
Okay, and so what are the implications of that? If you've got a page, say if you had a landing page that takes somebody through a really you know, a buyer journey, and everything apart from the text is going to be stripped out, what are the implications of that?
Well, you won't, like I say, you won't necessarily be converting at the rates that you would normally do if you chose to put the kind of money pages or the decision phase pages on AMP. You just wouldn't do that, you know, so you strip those out. You say these pages aren't for AMP and these other ones are.
Okay, and making sure if you have got pages in AMP that you've got a clear pathway of where you're sending people from those pages.
Yeah, although don't really, you know, pages on that you're using AMP to serve, you shouldn't really expect people to click around within your website. That's not really the point. You might get the odd one, but the odd few, but that's not really the primary purpose of those pages or that type of page.
So when we were talking before about, you know, what sort of websites or what sort of businesses is this most appropriate for, is there a case there to say, all right, you might be I don't know, a small e-commerce business, for example, might it not be appropriate then? You're not, obviously you're not going to put your entire shop on there or whatever, but might there be some cases where AMP is not appropriate?
Yeah, so e-commerce websites are a great example. So I'm just trying to think what it was called. They used to have AMP Carousels, which kind of brought the content out. I think they don't support that anymore. They don't use that anymore. But it's much more difficult when you've got a kind of e-commerce website to get that across. You do just use your standard e-commerce landing pages for that.
Okay, all right, and I know, you know, we are straying now into what are the drawbacks. So tell me some of those. What are some of the drawbacks then of AMP?
Well, I suppose the obvious one is that your AMP content is hosted on Google's website and not your own. That you can't do like a lot of what we said earlier. That it's a bit like, I think of it a bit like Kindle, really. It's just really basic. It's a really basic way to provide content and do it in a really quick way, in a way that doesn't take a lot of energy, doesn't take a lot of power on the servers. You know, it doesn't take very much bandwidth. It's just lightning quick. That's all it's designed to do. And that's why I have, by and large, always advised people to probably stay away from it, because for most business websites, you want to provide content, but the payoff is that you're providing a brand message or a product or service message as well, and you're hoping that somebody will then go on to take another action. Whereas with AMP, with everything being stripped out, you don't get any of those brand signals. You very marginally increase awareness of the brand. Maybe you get a little bit of it, but not a vast amount. So most of the kind of regular content that brands are producing, it's got what we do often, SEO and content marketing. It's called marketing for a reason. We're trying to get people to buy something eventually. So using a technology that reduces the potential conversion rate, or those buying signals, or buying factors, should I say, is something that I generally advise against, and say, well, the payoff of having a slightly slower site, a slightly slower kind of loading speed on some of those pages, is that potentially you'll then go to convert those customers.
I mean, in essence, it's a bit like an old-fashioned advert, isn't it? That somebody might see in a paper. There's no way, as you say, it's like you're just getting that name, that brand in front of somebody, but there isn't, as you say, there's no follow through from that. And so when we're talking to customers, and we say to them, what do you want to achieve out of a campaign that you're going to do with Grow Traffic? They want more customers. That's what they want, and they generally want to be able to show in some way, I have spent this amount of money on my website and I have got this many customers out of it. And so this process, it's one of the tools in the arsenal, isn't it? Yeah, it's going to help. It's going to help get awareness out there. It's going to help get some brand recognition. It's going to help get your name in front of some potential customers. But it hasn't got that follow through that, as you say, is going to then become a conversion that is then going to become a new customer that they're going to be able to see and measure. So
Even
in terms of the use, is limited, isn't it?
Yeah, it's even in terms of awareness and branding, it's limited because of the way that the content is so stripped out.
Mm-hmm. Is there also a downside of it? I mean, we're always saying to people, don't put more plugins on your website, don't have any extraneous thing. I mean, this seems kind of contradictory, doesn't it? We're saying you need your website to be fast, so don't put extra plugins in. But then we're saying we'll put a plugin in there that makes your website a bit faster. Again, are we just adding another layer of complexity where it isn't necessarily needed?
Well, it's needed in certain situations, like we were saying before. Providing really quick news content, it might be very appropriate in that situation, where you don't expect somebody to then go on to click around your website. You're just providing a bit of information to them, and that's where the value is. So it's appropriate in that sense.
So we're back to, if you can justify it, then fine. But if you're just doing it for the sake of, ticking a box, AMP done that,
yeah,
there's no real point.
yeah, and I mean, it marginally might slow your website, your other pages down ever so slightly by having another plugin on there. I don't know whether the plugins only whether they would load for the additional pages or not. I don't know. Depends how the CMS works, I suppose.
It all depends. It all depends. Okay. Now, so the final point that I would like to ask you is what is the future of this? I mean, to me, given what we know about the way algorithms are changing, given what we know about the mum algorithm, which if you don't know what we're talking about, go back and listen to our what's coming up in SEO in 2022 session that we did in January, because we talk all about mum on that one. But given the way that algorithms are going and the way that they organize information and curate it and display it to people in search engine results pages now, is AMP not going to become redundant eventually?
Maybe. I think that core web vitals that we were talking about before, the page experience factors, shall we say, more broadly, they are all about the speed of a website and trying to get a website to load and be stable as quickly as possible. And in some ways, those factors have kind of pushed the whole technology on behind the internet, behind the kind of web technology that's used. And AMP has its place, like we said, but it's just a tool in that sense. Now,
A bit like you.
yeah, just a bit like me. And the other thing to say is that Google has pretty much stopped supporting it now. It's become its own open source kind of community that support it. So it's out there in the wild.
What's the implication of that? Do you think that Google has stopped supporting it because that's an indication that it cares less, or do you think it has just got to a point where it can survive in the wild on its own?
Well, I was going to say there's one thing you can say for it. So Apple and Facebook both have similar products, and the difference is that Google's product is open source, so anyone can develop it. Always has been. Whereas Apple's and Facebook's are lockdown products. So there's always and Google's pretty much always been like that in the way that they develop technology, and that they do develop their own kind of web standards that become web standards. So the implication is that in some ways AMP is around forever as long as people find it useful. And it doesn't really matter that Google stops supporting it, because this is what they do. They set up these kind of new standards, whether it's things like, implementing schema markup and moving to kind of HTTPS rather than HTTP for SSL security on for hosting. All these things are standards that Google said, right, from this point onwards, we want all kind of websites to adhere to these things, and then they leave it to other people to kind of develop and implement. I think the big thing that I would say is that for the last few years, Google has not been supporting it, and they've been developing a new technology. I think it's only available in a few markets. I'm pretty sure it's America, Brazil, and India. They're testing it at the moment. It's called Google Web Stories, and it's built on the AMP framework. However, it is served from your website rather than being served from Google. So it is just pure HTML. It's not reliant on the CDN and the JavaScript. It's just going to be pure HTML. So it will be even faster if your website, if your server, if all your connections to the internet are fast.
And so what is the implication of that for your ordinary business website owner? Is that something else that they're going to have to start thinking about? So say if we've got
eventually.
We're talking to a customer now, for example, small to medium business, got a little website, we're doing a bit of SEO. Are we going to say, right, start thinking about AMP? Or are we going to say, don't bother, look, let's see what's coming on the horizon, let's focus on that instead?
For most small businesses, I've always said don't bother. Don't bother with AMP for if you're a small business that is marketing itself and its products and its services. If you are creating lots of content and you're creating lots of newsworthy content or topical things, then maybe you want to feed some of that out through AMP, because it will be faster. And likewise, in the future, when Google rolls out web stories, which it will, then you might probably want to adopt web stories potentially over AMP if you're on a fast kind of server and you've got fast connections and all the rest of it.
So essentially the message is, if you are the sort of business that is producing a lot of content but focusing particularly on content marketing, SEO content marketing, online PR, you want to be getting those sorts of relevant, regular news articles that are going out and appearing in news and all the rest of it, then yeah, you've got to be thinking about AMP. Everybody else, leave it.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't say if you're doing content marketing, then probably I'd stay away from AMP. But if you're doing the marketing element of it, if you're trying to get an action after somebody's read a piece of content, then I would question if AMP is the right way to go.
Okay. Right. Well, I mean, we're out of time. Fascinating stuff. Any final points, Simon Daly, that you would like to make about AMP?
Yeah, no, it's a boring topic, isn't it? And
it really is. It's really. I mean, we've bored the socks off everybody. This is nobody.
Who even suggested this? Whose idea was it to do?
This was you. This was all you.
This was not me.
We must do one about AMP.
Was it not Hannah? Was it not Hannah? Because we have that one client that was absolutely adamant that they wanted AMP implemented on some of their pages.
I was doing the content calendar for the year for these sessions whilst watching The Vicar of Dibley one Sunday afternoon, and I said, "What do you think we need to cover?" And you said AMP. We must do it. So there you go. It's all your fault. So go on, give me a final thought.
Are you gaslighting me, Roa? Is this gaslighting?
Give me a final thought.
Well, it's been a lovely week. I went in London at the start of the week, and now I'm back at home at the end of the week. Really nice week, and I'm looking forward to the weekend.
Yeah, because we've got lots of exciting things happening this weekend, haven't we? So
yeah, exciting stuff.
There we go. Right. Well, thank you very much for watching. If you have any burning questions about AMP, then you can put them in the chat and we will respond to you. If you are watching this on Facebook, leave us a comment anytime. And as I say, we'll get back to you. If you are listening to it as a podcast and you're still listening after 30 minutes of AMP, then well done. Please do leave us a review, like and subscribe, and tell people about it. And of course, if you are watching on YouTube, subscribe below. And again, you can leave us a comment and we will answer. That's it. Thank you. We will be back in 2 weeks' time with another one. I think we're talking about being a digital nomad next time. So we have some actual digital nomads who are going to join us. 2, I think, depending on Wi-Fi and where they are in the world. But yeah, they're going to talk to us about what it's like to be a digital nomad and how you could become a digital nomad yourself.
I'm a digital nomad.
I wish you were a digital nomad. On that note, wave. Thank you.